Okay, so I've made a few minor updates. This is version 5.1 to what was just recently released a few days ago. The first thing is this image statistics module is now multi-threaded, so it runs a lot faster to collect statistics on the 2,000 stars or however many you wish to capture. And so that's the first item. It's kind of nice. The second item here is the ability to plot a grid, if you will, by however many divisions you want. So initially there's just one division, then you can separate it out into more and more, as you can see here. So what it's doing is for each region of the image, it's computing the median residual for that particular cell in the grid. And so you can hover over a particular cell and it will tell you, for example, here's 12 samples and the median residual in that cell was 0.28 arc seconds. And so it's also color coded, so you can kind of get an idea more easily what you're going to expect. The dark gray indicates that there were not enough samples to get a reliable median, if you will. And so as you divide it into more and more cells, then of course the number of samples per cell goes down. So anyway, it's a way to look at the kind of the quality across the image as far as residuals of measurements are concerned. And it also filters out if the catalog star, if there was not sufficient signal to noise ratio on it, then it eliminates that from the sample, from the list of samples, simply because that's not the goal of this. It's not looking at what the signal to noise ratio is, it's simply looking at whether or not it was able to get a reliable measurement on a star that did have sufficient SNR. So this differs from, for example, if we just had one division, the whole thing, then as you can see we have 574 samples, which is certainly less than the 928 samples that were collected overall. And that difference is attributed entirely due to the fact that those other stars did not have sufficient signal. But certainly you're still free to save this as a CSV file and then run whatever analysis you want to on it as well. But this provides a decent way to look at the data. So for example, here are some other comparisons. So this is a half-meter telescope, 6 divisions here, and then 8 divisions. And so all of these look pretty similar. They all have very good measurements for stars that have sufficient signal, except this one here. So I was sent some data to look at, and it was actually kind of surprising to me that the right half of the image had good information on it, but then the other half did not. And then I looked at the image and more closely, and then it turned out that the left half of the image, the catalog stars no longer matched up with the actual stars anymore. Even when I went to solve it using the online astrometry.net solver. So, and here's what that image looks like. So as you can see, there appears to be in the center of the image here a vertical column, if you will, that seems to be this point at which the catalog stars no longer line up with the actual stars in the image. So on the left half you have that sort of disconnect, versus the right half everything seems to look fine. So if we load up star catalog and display catalog stars, again, if we're looking at the right half here, then you can notice that catalog stars seem to match up fine with actual stars. But then as you go to the left half of the image, that's no longer the case. So this was a useful exercise to see that indeed this matches up with what we see here. And so it's another way to look at the data. And so if you see this, the normal result here, then nothing to worry about. If you see something like this, then that's something to take a second look at.